Minions: The Rise of Gru has arrived, and it's about time. You might remember our breakdown of the trailer before it hit theaters. Let's crack into it, uncover some secrets and Easter eggs, and see how close to the mark we came. The Rise of Gru was such a long time coming. It became the record holder for the longest advertised animated film in motion picture history. Did you know that the movie didn't debut until 2.5 years after its first trailer was revealed? I'm sure you can guess the reason for the delay of its release. COVID, the real supervillain. This created a mess for the advertising and merchandising connected to the movie. McDonald's had Happy Meal toys based on the movie that went out 2 years before the movie's release. Same with Lego. When the movie finally did come out, it was a black tie affair, at least for some young TikTokers. Kids from all over made a meme sensation of going to the movie dressed in formal wear and posting on the platform. The craze had such an impact, Post-Track reported 34% of the opening weekend audience was teenagers between 13 and 17. No small feat when you consider that only 8% of the same demographic went to see Despicable Me 3 on its opening weekend. But enough about the stats, let's break into this movie and see what secrets we can come away with. The movie opens on a billboard celebrating the American Bicentennial, 1976. If you remember from our trailer video with Gru and his minions going to see Jaws in theaters, we figured the movie would take place somewhere in that time-ish. But did you know that Minions has something in common with another movie directed by one of Steven Spielberg's peers? In 1981, director Brian De Palma released Blowout, a political thriller starring John Travolta as a sound man who records what sounds like an accidental tire blowout, but turns out to be so much more. Blowout is set against the Philadelphia Bicentennial celebration in 1976. Of course, Rise of Gru leans heavier on the Chinese New Year. But both films end amidst a colorful celebration and parade complete with fireworks. Rise of Gru wastes no time introducing us to the Vicious Six, the team of supervillains idolized by young Gru. Bell Bottom, voiced by Taraji P. Henson, is unleashing her groove on the good old AVL. That's the anti-villain league to the uninitiated. Watch as black sedans give chase after her. One of the cars comes right at us. Did you catch what's going on in the passenger seat? The agent is taking a bite of a pink donut with sprinkles. Come on, guy, don't perpetuate the stereotype. Of course, that pink donut calls to mind another animated property created by Matt Groening, The Simpsons. Forbidden donut. Bell Bottom returns to the secret lair where we meet Stronghold, voiced by Danny Trejo, Nunchuck, played by Lucy Lawless, Svengeance, performed by Dolph Lundgren, Jean-Claude, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, that is, and Wild Knuckles, voiced by Alan Arkin, all of which we covered more extensively in the trailer video. Needless to say, that necklace thereafter that we were wondering so much about is called the legendary Zodiac Stone, and its magical powers don't just change characters into random animals, it turns the characters into animals from the Chinese zodiac. We've got the ox, monkey, sans the pre-existing claw, of course, the snake, which just had to be the Catholic nun's inner beast, the tiger, and last but not least, the dragon, because in 1976, the Chinese New Year marked the year of the dragon. The minions also get transformed into zodiac animals: rabbit, goat, and rooster. So when we called them barnyard animals, we were kinda right. We'll count it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The Vicious Six have to steal the Zodiac Stone, and they do, thanks to the map stolen by Bell Bottom. Oddly enough, the leader of the pack, Wild Knuckles, takes point on getting the stone pretty much all by himself. Facing an army of tiny golden armored guards, he finally gets a little support in the form of a rope. Hang on a second. That rope is fashioned into a noose. Probably not a good sign. And of course it isn't, as the rest of the Vicious Six double-cross Wild Knuckles, steal the stone, and literally cut ties with their leader. Harsh. Next, we're treated to some eye candy in the form of an opening credits sequence. Did you know this sequence is an homage to a long-running spy film franchise? The bold colors, the silhouettes, and the music are all sending up the title sequences made famous in the James Bond series. Over 27 films and counting. The opening montages have grown from simple graphics and the iconic view down a gun barrel to sweeping, layered graphical showcases of danger and lust. They're an art form all their own, thanks to the likes of Maurice Binder, Robert Brownjohn, and Mark Forrester's studio MK12. Sometimes the Bond title sequence shows a little sample of the film ahead. Rise of Gru does the same thing. When Gru's silhouette rises and the minions' arms appear with him like Shiva, it's a foreshadowing of later in the movie, when the minions Bob, Kevin, and Stuart break into Wild Knuckles' home. Want another movie reference? Let's watch Gru get ready for his big interview. At one point, he's singing in the shower with his hair in a mohawk. Fans of writer-director John Hughes recognized this right away as a reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Of course, Ferris, played by Matthew Broderick, is singing Donkashane, while Gru is singing Bad Moon Rising, only substituting his name, Gru, for Moon. You gotta love it. The kid has confidence. Of course, classic rock and disco sounds of the 70s reign supreme in any movie featuring Gru, and Rise of Gru does not disappoint. You'll hear familiar hits like Funky Town, Dance to the Music, Born to Be Alive, and Black Magic Woman. But one disco queen lends her voice to a brand new song with the help of Australian psychedelic pop band Tame Impala, and that's Diana Ross. Did you know that at 78, Ross is still touring in support of her latest album, Thank You? No, thank you, Ms. Ross. The Minions, of course, have to give their renditions of two classic songs of the era. While building Gru's very first evil lair, they could be heard singing in their native Minionese, also known as the banana language, as Minions are obsessed with bananas. The song they're singing is the 1970 hit Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel. Later in the movie, they give a heartfelt performance of the Rolling Stones' 1969 hit, You Can't Always Get What You Want. That's not the only reference from 1969. As Gru makes his way to the Vicious Six's evil lair, he almost runs over a hippie-looking dude in bell-bottoms and a jacket. The dude yells, "Hey, I'm walking here," which was a line made famous by Dustin Hoffman in the 1969 Academy Award-winning film Midnight Cowboy. The line is especially famous because Hoffman, who played Enrico Razzo Rizzo in that film, was almost run over by the taxi for real. Midnight Cowboy was shot on the streets of New York City guerrilla style because the production didn't have a permit to shut down the street, so that's a real New York taxi coming at him. But Hoffman's stated character and film history was made. The Vicious Six's lair is fronted by a record shop run by a groovy Brit by the name of Nefario. Haha, yeah, we know where this is going. He just so happens to even have an interesting gadget on hand. He calls it Sticky Fingers. The invention is a more complex version of the Sticky Hands kids toy. Did you know that the toy originated in the 80s thanks to a gentleman named Ken Hakuda? The sticky elastomer substance was originally used in a toy called the Wacky Wall Walker and was modeled after a spider. So it looks like Nefario actually bested Hakuda by developing the technology a decade earlier. That's not the only retro toy to show up in Rise of Gru. Check out all the fun classic arcade games Gru, Kevin Stewart, and Bob play. Air hockey, whack-a-mole, pinball, but most interestingly, take a look at the arcade box behind the air hockey table. Pong is one of the earliest arcade games to actually port onto a home version in 1975. It might not look like much, but this game was important in launching the video game industry. If you thought Pong was old, this next toy will feel downright prehistoric. After Gru is denied by the Vicious Six, he steals the Zodiac Stone, which leads to an action-packed chase. He keeps the Vicious Six busy chasing him after secretly giving the stone to Minion Otto to bring back to his lair safe and sound. After giving the Vicious Six the slip, he returns to his lair victorious, only to find that Otto traded the Zodiac Stone for another kind of stone that was very much in demand at the time, a pet rock. The pet rock was marketed by Gary Dahl as the answer to all other kinds of high-maintenance pets. Came with a booklet on how to care for the rock, filled with puns and gags, and at less than $5, the toy made Gary a millionaire by the end of its short-lived craze. Oh, and the googly eyes? Did you know that they weren't included, but were an added bit of inspiration by consumers? Thank God I grew up in the age of video games. Another kind of game is played by Otto during the scene when Gru announces he'll be interviewing for a spot in the Vicious Six. Otto's a bit of a jabbermouth, and so Gru tells him to play the quiet game. Otto takes this to mean that he should hold his breath. This answers our question from the trailer video when we wondered why his cheeks were so rosy and he looked like he was going to pass out. Another moment we touched on in our trailer video was the Evel Knievel cameo. It seems the creators decided to fudge the year a little on this one, as we said that Evel Knievel failed his attempt at jumping Snake River Canyon in 1974. Well, here's the rest of the jump. Otto lands and Evel doesn't. Called it. Another wonder from our trailer video revolved around Gru in a Boy Scout uniform at the Bank of Evil. What was he doing in that outfit, and how does he so readily have a key? Well, we certainly know now the uniform was part of a disguise. The other part? Wild Knuckles. The two joined forces and pretend to be a grandpa and grandson duo in order to train Gru to infiltrate the bank and steal something. Of course, if we're talking about the Bank of Evil, someone else from the Despicable Me universe can be counted on to show up. Mr. Perkins, voiced by Will Arnett. In fact, he's the keeper of the key. We also get a look at a picture of him with a young Vector, voiced by Jason Segel in the first Despicable Me movie. But there's one more villain of note visiting the bank as well. See the pointy-haired gentleman with the fur collar who kinda looks like if the Wicked Witch of the West were a man? Well, that's none other than Sergey, the big bad from The Secret Life of Pets 2. If you missed him the first time, here he is again. and again. While Gru is learning everything Wild Knuckles has to teach him, Bob, Kevin, and Stuart are learning the art of Kung Fu from Master Chow, voiced by Michelle Yeoh. As we said in our trailer video, she's probably best known for her work in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Rise of Gru reinforces that statement. Watch the sequence where Master Chow teaches the minions to find their inner beast. She goes jumping and flipping from tree to tree with minimal effort, kinda like Chow Yun-Fat and Zizhang during their fight in the bamboo forest. Yes, I know Michelle Yeoh isn't in the scene, but she is in the movie, so count it! Thanks to Master Chow, there's one more sighting of a supervillain, kinda. When the minions are training at San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf, Stuart takes a much-needed banana break. Did you happen to notice who's on his lunchbox? It's Scarlet Overkill, the main baddie from the original 2015 Minions movie, voiced by Sandra Bullock. Want another character cameo? Turns out we were spot on about the AVL. Under that coif and mutton chops is a chin that can't be denied. Silas Ramsbottom, voiced by Steve Coogan. Still, we can't get them all right. Remember when we had a hard time placing rapper-producer RZA in the cast? His IMDb credit didn't have a character name. Well, it's since been updated, and it turns out RZA plays the biker uncle of the birthday kid who winds up in possession of the Zodiac Stone. He and Otto strike up a friendship that finds them on a motorcycle journey reminiscent of the counterculture masterpiece Easy Rider. Just so happens they send up another movie along the way. On their ride, the duo finds himself behind a gasoline tanker. They start making goofy faces to amuse themselves with their funhouse reflections off the back of the rig. Does this moment feel familiar at all? Not in the Despicable Me universe? Then where? Along the way to the Los Angeles International Speedway before a short detour through Radiator Springs. That's right, Lightning McQueen's trusty driver Mac, voiced by John Ratzenberger, did the exact same thing. Of course, where minions are concerned, there's always a fair share of goofiness. Check out the fun they have at Gru's mom's Tupperware party. They just can't get enough of the product's trademark burp and seal feature. Yep, that's not a burp. But there's something else going on. You can hear a low horn in the background playing a melody that should really perk up the ears of sci-fi fans. That's because the note progression was chosen by composer John Williams as the basis for communication with alien life in the Steven Spielberg classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a movie that came out in 1977? It seems we've stumbled on an anachronism. Whoops! There's another detail fudge made by the filmmakers. Remember when the minions were turned into animals from the Zodiac? Stuart, as the rooster, unleashes his inner beast and lays a projectile barrage of eggs at Cobra Nunchuck. There's just one problem with that. Roosters don't lay eggs, hens do. Hey, they unleashed their inner beasts and saved their mini-boss, that's what really counts. Mini-boss, Gru, has certainly been set on the path to becoming the greatest supervillain that ever lived thanks to his new mentor, Wild Knuckles. After witnessing Wild Knuckles' final stroke of genius, Gru expresses his excitement at one day being able to do the same thing. Wild Knuckles tells him, "Shoot for the moon, kid," and as we all know, he did. In Despicable Me. I hope you enjoyed this video and had a groovy time finding out-of-sight secrets and details you may have missed in Minions: The Rise of Gru. Make sure you subscribe to Movie Logic for more daily movie facts, trivia, and Easter eggs.